do you get anti-American, anti-Constitution, Marxist, communist leopards to show their spots? You poke them until their true selves come out. Rosie the Riveter here, dropping more truth bombs to destroy fake news and propaganda. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to get new videos when they are uploaded. Now, let's get into today's riveting topic. Trump knows the left is trying to systematically remove our God-given constitutional rights, starting with confiscating our guns and controlling our speech. They want you unarmed and terrified without any voice to say anything they don't want you to. I personally believe he purposely wrote mean tweets because he knew they would eventually snap and reveal their true selves to the public. And he was right.
The president's tweets and his behaviors about this are just further evidence of the fact that he uses his power in a way that is designed to beat people down instead of lift people up. Frankly, when you look at what he's been tweeting today, directed at the whistleblower, directed at so many people, I frankly think that based on this and all we've seen him do before, including attacking members of Congress, that his Twitter account should be suspended. I think there is plenty of now evidence to suggest that he is irresponsible with his words in a way that could result in harm to other people. And so the privilege of using those words in that way should probably be taken from him.
But doesn't that,
So, the people who claim Trump is an existential threat to democracy and the Constitution called for their political opponent to lose his First Amendment rights because they don't like what he is saying. Social media finally complied in January of 2021. Think about that. They silenced the voice of the sitting president of the United States, the leader of the free world. If they can do that to him, what makes you think you are safe? Meanwhile, the current president says Trump has no social redeeming value.
Yes, and look, Trump is
Careful.
there's not a lot of social redeeming value there.
No, you think?
Right. But here's the thing. He really does not believe in democracy and the guardrails that our system is set up for the abuse of power.
Whoopi Goldberg compared Trump to a bug, which the current president then implied he wants to squash.
And he just wouldn't go. He was like a bug. He just kept being there. He was like a bug right there. So you felt...
And Hillary Clinton continues to insist Trump is the ultimate danger to America.
Well, I do think that the press needs a consistent the press that's not supporting Trump blatantly, very persistently, the press that's trying to be the press, be objective, be, reporting the facts, the press needs a consistent narrative about the danger that Trump poses. Because, people may still look at the danger and say, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. I'm going to vote for him for X, Y, or Z. But okay. But at least people need to be woken up and given the facts about what he has done, is saying, and would do.
After Trump's granddaughter made a heartwarming speech about him at the RNC convention, Whoopi was horrified that people were starting to humanize Trump.
His audience. I don't know any women, and I know his grandchild was up on the thing, and they're trying to humanize him and change your idea about who this guy is. Don't fall for that.
Trump, you're talking about. Yeah. Talking about Trump.
Roseanne Barr revealed radical leftists feel the same way about his supporters, their fellow Americans as well.
No, and I also wanted to show that the working class is the most integrated class in America.
Yes.
And, they hated all that too. But the thing is that nobody would portray the Trump voter, and I felt it was too on the head for me to do it. But it fell to me because nobody else would do it. Somebody overheard one of my writers, in fact, it was Wanda Sykes, that said, I'm just afraid this show, in the writer's room, I'm just afraid this show is humanizing Trump voters.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. One of the writers on the Roseanne show. Humanizing Trump voters.
What'd you say?
Well, someone reported it to me. I said, I'm not going to renew her contract. And she was the first one to say that to interpret through libtard eyes what my tweet meant, which it didn't mean.
I wish Trump wouldn't have such nasty tweets sometimes, too. It's why I was behind Ted Cruz 100% in 2016. But over time, I noticed something about Trump's attacks. His targets are always specific people or specific government groups in Washington. Yet, like Wanda Sykes, those on the left continue to attack, demean, degrade, and devalue any and every ordinary citizen who does not unquestionably bow to their ideology and agenda.
In my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Trump will criticize Kamala as a low IQ person, yet he never claims her voters are. However, every Trump supporter, or even someone who just says they like one of his policies, is labeled a white supremacist, Christian nationalist, domestic terrorist Nazi. Any conservative who is in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021 is automatically an insurrectionist and deserves to spend years in jail, while pedophiles and BLM rioters are excused and let go with a slap on the wrist. Kamala actually raised money for the BLM rioters in 2020, while she locks up and throws away the key for an 85-year-old MAGA protester. As Trump says, they aren't after him. They are after us, and he is just standing in their way. Their actions are proving that beyond a shadow of a doubt.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They want you silent. And I am the only one that can save this nation because you know they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving.
Remember, Democrats first dehumanized slaves with the Dred Scott decision. Then they dehumanized unborn babies with Roe v. Wade. These rulings gave them the free conscience to mistreat and kill as they considered both the slave and unborn baby property, not people. Today, that same party is dehumanizing their political opponents, regardless of age, race, and gender, again relieving their consciences of their heartlessness, as their opponents are nothing more than a basket of deplorables that don't deserve any humanity.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
I am sick and tired of people who say that if you debate and you disagree with this administration, somehow you're not patriotic, and we should stand up and say we are Americans and we have a right to debate and disagree with any administration.
Joy Behar still insists it is Trump's own rhetoric that caused his assassination attempts, while she continues to call him Hitler and a fascist pig. I addressed this specific topic in a recent video. Someone actually responded to the title saying, "You say that like it is a bad thing." Dehumanization, folks, to the point people are calling for Trump's assassination without reservation. As a real estate developer, Trump spent decades working within and using the political and media system to conduct his business. For 12 years, he rubbed elbows with Hollywood as the host of The Apprentice, and they loved him. That is, until the moment he won the nomination in 2016.
It was the episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
And you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you. They were all talking about how you might be you might be conservative in your financial positions, but you're very liberal socially. They were talking about you in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering. And then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Yeah.
But there's probably no one in history that I've ever seen that's been attacked the way you've been attacked, and the way they've done it, so coordinated and systematically. And when you see those same people in the past, very favorable to you, like Oprah, when you were on Oprah's show,
very.
She was encouraging you to
Last
be president.
week.
But does he really want to add president of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
My friend. Watch this. Just watch this. This is nuts. We're in an alternative universe. Okay? Because this is not that long ago.
Go standing O.
Bro, watch this. Just watch how this goes. Watch this. So she's a Republican. That's easy.
Yep.
But everybody else.
Look at Joy.
Hugs.
Can't wait to get a hug in.
Yeah, everyone's hugging. Look at this. Look at this. Kisses, hugs, kisses to Whoopi. Everybody hugs and kisses. Even Joy Behar hugs and kisses.
Even Joy Behar hugs and kisses.
See? No.
Which begs the question, why? Why did they all change on a dime when he became the nominee? Why did so many of the left make an about face in a group synchronized movement? I believe it's because Trump knows who these people are and what they really think, and they absolutely can't allow the public to find out, which is why I believe Trump is purposely being so harsh in his posts. He's forcing them out of the darkness and into the light, revealing to the world what's really in their hearts. The more he does it, the more they despise him, and the more they reveal. As information about Epstein and P. Diddy and the activities they engaged in with politicians and celebrities is finally becoming public, I believe Trump's comments also stem from his disgust of what these people have been doing for decades to innocent children. But before you scream at me that regardless of the reasons, Trump's posts are unchristian-like and unacceptable, let's remember what some highly regarded Christians have said in the past that puts a better perspective on things. I already did an entire video on the insults some prophets, apostles, and Christ himself leveled against the church leaders and stubborn unbelievers, which I encourage you to watch. Today, I wish to focus on the father of the Protestant Reformation. 507 years ago, an unknown monk named Martin Luther decided to start a conversation regarding specific Catholic Church doctrines and practices. Prompted by the Church's collection of indulgencies, telling people it would buy them and their loved ones out of purgatory, a practice which Luther believed to be evil, he took the occasion to write 95 theses or arguments against these indulgencies, as well as good works, the papacy, and other relevant theological issues. A professor at the time at Wittenberg University, he nailed his theses on the town bulletin board, which was the All Saints church door, on October 31st, 1517. In essence, he was posting on the social media platform of the day to see what would happen. As a Lutheran, I realized God put Martin Luther, a specific man with a specific temperament, in that time and at that place to put in motion actions that would reform the church. Luther was not the first to question the church and bring up theological issues within its doctrine. Unfortunately, his predecessors and some of his contemporaries were permanently silenced while he was spared, we believe, by the hand of God. Thanks to the relatively new invention of the printing press, once Luther's friends had his 95 Theses printed and distributed throughout the area, a fire had ignited no one could put out. Actually, in the beginning, Luther was a reluctant crusader for Christ. The only reason he went into the monastery was because he promised God he would during a terrifying thunderstorm. All Luther was looking to do was open discussions about issues in the church that he had questions and concerns about. He did not want to break from the church. His goal was to address issues where he thought the church had gone astray. How did the church and government, which were one and the same at the time, respond? They attacked, demeaned, and tried to destroy him. The church demanded he renounce his writings, abandon his teachings of grace through faith, surrender to the church's teachings of works righteousness, and embrace their doctrines and theologies without reservation or introspection. Luther was well aware that he was a terribly sinful and imperfect person. No one but Jesus can claim otherwise. Yet, realizing the grace of our Lord and Savior, he gained the confidence to stand in front of King Charles V and tell him, "No, I will not recant. Here I stand. I can do no other." They tried to silence Luther while destroying his name and reputation. How did he respond? He pulled the gloves off and pushed back just as hard. He became brazenly bold for the gospel and started harshly calling out those he believed were not just lying to, but oppressing and cheating the people. He realized souls were at stake, and proper etiquette gave way to revealing eternal salvation. If Luther had had a social media account, they would have absolutely demanded he be censored and removed. Just check out some of his comments he made in his writings. "You are admirable, fine, pious sows and asses. You hellish scum. You are idiots and swine. Listen, you ass. You are a particularly crass ass indeed. You are a filthy sow. You are the ultimate scourges of the world, the Antichrist together with you sophists and bishops. You cowardly slave, you corrupt sycophant, with our sickening advice. You conduct yourself like one drunk or asleep, belching out between your snores, yes, no. Even if the Antichrist appears, what greater evil can he do than what you have done and do daily? Even if your writings were from an angel from heaven, I would take this horrible document, and after having used it as toilet paper, wipe its nose. You forgot to purge yourself with hellebore while you were preparing to fabricate this lie. My soul, like Ezekiel's, is nauseated at eating your bread covered with human dung. Do you know what this means?" Not the most compassionate, Christ-like statements one would imagine from such an important religious figure. Yet, God knew an even-tempered, pious person would have a hard time surviving the Pope's and King's relentless assaults. God needed a hardened person, one who was not only willing, but able to call out the church leaders, just like the apostles in Christ did, calling them a brood of vipers and stiff-necked people, as well as mock them like Elijah mocked the priests of Baal. Remember, the leaders tried to silence Peter, Paul, and the rest, demanding they stop preaching about Jesus. They were arrested, imprisoned, beaten, and all but John were executed. Despite the threats and directives from the government, did any of them stop their pursuit of telling the world the truth? No. In fact, it made them bolder. Luther was forced into hiding for a time under the threat of assassination. Yet God uses all for the good for those who love him. It was during this time Luther translated the Bible into German so the common person could read it for themselves. It is understandable many Catholics are not fans of Luther and probably view his statements the way anti-Trumpers would Trump posts. Maybe some Protestants out there hearing this for the first time are not too happy about these insults either. However, once the establishment did everything they could to silence and destroy Luther, can you blame him? He realized the truth was too important to be intimidated by people, especially those lying and misinforming the public about what God has told us in the Bible. Luther was fighting for the gospel truth. God used the Reformation to get his word directly into the hands of the people, which resulted in religious freedom. This, in turn, led to the pilgrims traveling to the New World. A free nation was born thanks to a man who dared insult the establishment. Is it possible, just possible, that God is bringing about freedom again using a similar personality? Don't forget why the Jewish leaders went after the apostles and the Pope went after Luther. It was never about truth. It was always about power. They did not want to lose their political power and standing. Do you honestly think things are any different now?
Platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm.
Really, Hillary? Who will lose control? And what control will they lose?
And I think the dislike of and anguish over social media is just growing and growing and growing. And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies, in terms of building consensus around any issue. It's really hard to govern today. So it's really, really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the 45, 50 years I've been involved in this. And there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have, some accountability on facts, et cetera. Our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So what you need.
I understand my examples of the prophets, apostles, Paul and Luther are religious ones, and one could argue that Trump is political, so the rules are different. To that, I remind you of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Even though King Nebuchadnezzar said the people could still worship their own gods, he wanted his whole nation to bow to a golden statue, most likely of him, when the music played. He was the king, so the 3 Israelites should have complied, right? We're supposed to acquiesce to the government, correct? As we know, the men refused, even when faced with death, and Christ stood with them in the fire. Did you see that Taylor Swift, Eminem, Usher, Beyonce, and others are endorsing Kamala? The music is playing, and you are expected to fall to the ground. However, history will show Trump's supporters are today's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, refusing to take the knee and willing to endure persecution and prosecution for peacefully standing for truth, refusing to bow to their God, the government. Remember, those who don't comply are dangerous conservative Christians who are a threat to democracy.
Again, we're not going to be gaslighted on this. We remember Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
Over the years, government and church leaders have used their authority to stop not just prophets, apostles, Luther, and other reformers, but any citizen who dared question their leadership, claiming they were dangerous to society. Never in all this history were the ones trying to silence and censor people the good guys. Do you think it's any different today? The Bible is not just a history book, folks. It speaks for today just as much as it spoke for then. People do not change. Sin does not change. Satan does not change. He uses the same tactics over and over and over again. They thought you would follow the stars. They thought you would comply. They thought you would bow when the music played. Trump is not only brilliant, he is truly taking all the slings and arrows for us so as to expose these tyrants for who they really are. Mark my words, he will go down in history as one of the greatest presidents ever. God does not use perfect people. He uses the person perfect for the time, so the world sees his glory, not his servants. I'm Rosie the Riveter, and that's my 2 cents. But what do you think? Leave your comments down below. If you enjoy my content, please consider supporting my work on Patreon. You can find all my videos and my blog, Liberating Letters, at thefactspaper.com. You can also start your own research on the Facts Paper by exploring the thousands of links to articles I have, including those noted in my videos. Sharing the truth fake news propagandists won't. Investigate and discover the truth for yourself.